Well, hello. Good afternoon. Matt Carter here, Carter's Commentaries. Let me get my light adjusted a little bit, kind of washing me out. A little stronger than I expected. There we go. It's probably a little bit better. Hope all are well. Uh, we are experiencing regular heat advisory warnings here in Southeast Texas. So, hope you're taking care of yourself. Stay hydrated. So, um, as many know, especially if you walk with me anyway on the faith walk. Carrie and I have been long time attendees, members at River Point Church, and last 2 weeks been pretty chaotic as a result of kind of the face. Primary pastor revealed he had a extramarital affair that had been ongoing and stepped away from leadership, and so we had a really good message about kind of the impact of that, quite honestly, by one of the executive pastors who will tell you he doesn't like being out there and giving the sermons, but a guy named Dean King, and I actually enjoy listening to him when he teaches. I always think he is way better than he thinks he is. It's not his area of expertise, is what he likes to say. He doesn't enjoy necessarily being front and center, but God bless him, because every time he delivers a bang up message. So we got to listen to Brigadier General Bob Page too here this week, so that was kind of nice. He's always a different perspective, and I think his military background, for those of us that are first responders, we always kind of relate to that too. So I appreciate when he gives the words. So I think if you're in that circumstance, and I don't think our pastor having those types of misgivings is something that is new. I really feel for clergy in the sense that their humanity sometimes gets lost in the mix. And I have my own opinions about it, and those are irrelevant. But I know that everybody has a feeling. And so the message, at least for me today, this commentary is oriented around what happens when we're kind of navigating our feelings. And so I'll use some illustrations, hopefully, that help make sense, and then a verse that has long given me lots of trouble, quite frankly. And it comes out of Matthew. So I think as humans, we forget that we're human sometime. We put human restrictions onto the good Lord, and that is not how he works. And he does what he does. He's outside of the world in which we live. He's beyond it. He created it. So we're stuck with human limitations, and we subject everything through that filter of our humanity first, but beyond that, to our own life experience. And then humans put a moral code onto the so like murder is worse than theft, right? Like that's a sin, is a sin in the eyes of God, but we codify it. And I've done that myself, because I have some pretty strong opinions about being unfaithful to the person you've proclaimed in front of family and friends, that is a word, an oath. And so some of y'all have heard me speak on that, especially in the law enforcement community, because of how important our word is. And so I have very strong opinions about that. But I want to separate those, because I think that's a very natural thing. There's some things that you think are very, very important, and others that maybe are less important to you. But the reality is that you are subjecting your views onto the human experience when we're human ourselves. So here's where I want to kind of go with this, is that I'm going to use my experience with trauma and the battles that I had. So as a person, I think in general, the who, what, when, where occupy a lot of our attention, and the reality of our spiritual walk really ought to be focusing on the why. Now, if I were to apply that to ways I've kind of approached, at least what I hope people think I was and am a good leader, that I always encourage other leaders, supervisors, to consider the why. Like, explain the why to those that are in your charge, because that's what we really, as humans, benefit from, is why is something happening. And that leads me to the kind of this discussion. There's a lot of preoccupation with who, what, when, where, and quite frankly, we lose sight of the why. Now, if I'm struggling with my emotions, I can really explore and remedy the conflict between my logical sense and my emotional sense by exploring why. So, for example, if I feel a certain way, we get in sometimes to the cognitive about I shouldn't feel a certain way. When I think the most productive, and this is from years of therapy, the most productive exploration is why am I feeling this way? And then work to get to some resolution in the why question as opposed to battling against how we feel or trying to cognitively process through those pieces. And if I take it into a spiritual venture, here's where the scripture comes that had long given me trouble is that I was a bit of a worrier, in some ways still am. I root that into my desire to be in control. And I will tell you, I am a recovering control freak. And that is one of the healthiest things I have ever done is to try to uh, resolve my issues with trying to control, especially things I had zero control over. I can cognitively tell you from a faith perspective that God's in control, but my faith, spiritual faith, and my emotional connection didn't jive with that. I didn't really believe it, even though I was saying it, and would try to convince myself. And so that scripture for me is Matthew 6:27. It's shortly on the heels of the Lord's Prayer, but 627 is the key one. Is it, can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And that is a question from Christ, as captured here in Matthew 6:27. And he'll tell you throughout that whole area there, don't worry, God's going to provide. But we also slip into our humanity. Is he really? We question that. And that gets us to the why. Why can I trust that? Why? It's not because of me. It's Christ. It's God. And so often, I think we lose perspective of that focus of why. God gives us challenges. He never promised that it would be easy as followers. I think there's a easy resolution for me in exploring that when knowing I would never know the light if I didn't have the darkness. I would never know the high on the hill if I had never been in the dark valley or the deep valley. So the contrast, I believe, is an important aspect of us always being able to see. Sometimes we're near because we're in that high spot or near the light. Sometimes we're far away, but that beacon is always there. And the why is the answer, and that is Christ. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't worry about who, what, when, and where, sometimes even the how. But man almighty, do not lose sight of the why. It is such an important aspect, and quite frankly, it can be so freeing when you recognize I am no different. I am a sinner in the eyes of God. I am less than holy. I will fall short. But why I have salvation, what I have been promised as a result, is going to make, I think, the balance of your life as you explore that so much more manageable. You are loved more than you realize. God created you for a purpose you may not even have recognized yet. I love you. Please take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. You deserve it. God has asked you to do that. Love yourself, friends. I love you. Good Lord loves you. Be safe. Be well.